YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an amazing day. Hey, if we've never met before, my name is Rylan. I'm a pastor, a missionary in Chornomorsk, Ukraine. yeah, you heard right. Chornomorsk, Ukraine. And yeah, super glad that you are here. If you're new, consider subscribing, consider liking this video. We have been growing a good little cool community here. In the past month or so, we've got to 100 subscribers. Yeah! Super awesome, super exciting. What we do is we usually talk about events that are going on in our culture, see what the Bible says, talk about it, glean from it, and ultimately, and hopefully, leave better, leave more like Jesus. But I got some questions throughout some comments asking, hey, you're a pastor and a missionary in Ukraine? You speak really good English. It's like, yeah, I'm American. Wow, that's so cool. How did you get there? So I was going to talk about a little bit about how I came to Ukraine, a little bit about how I got here. Now, this isn't going to be a testimony video where I talk about everything. It's how I got to Ukraine, a little bit of sneak peek, insider's look into how I got here. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Okay, here we go. So I grew up in a missionary household. When I was very young, my mom ended up getting married to my dad, my stepdad. His name is Ryan. He ended up becoming a pastor in California. Now, I'm from California, city called Napa, California. We went to a Calvary Chapel church called Calvary Chapel Napa. It's called Calvary Chapel Napa. Now it was called Cornerstone. I grew up in church, and when I was about 8 years old or so, I started going on mission trips with my family. And so my dad was super into missions, and so then my family got into missions, and we would do missions in Mexico, being that we're super close. And so we would travel there, and we'd spend periods of time there. Super cool, super awesome. But then when I was about 12 years old or something like that, we ended up moving to Idaho. Now, through the next few years, we were moved to different churches where my dad was helping and serving in ministry roles at these churches. Now, when I was about 15 years old, they became missionaries. And so we ended up moving to Canada. Where we planted a church in a city called Medicine Hat. It's like an hour or so, maybe not an hour, maybe 2 hours or so away from the city called Calgary in Alberta. So we planted a church there. This is where my faith really started to grow, in the sense of I wasn't just a missionary kid. I was a missionary. Like, I was serving. I was doing these things. And so I felt a part of it. It was super cool. But then when I was about 16 years old or so, I started to feel the calling of the Lord on my life specifically. And so my entire life, God was calling my family to go. Hey, I want you guys to go. But then I really felt the Lord was saying, hey, Rylan, I want you to go. It's your turn to go. They've been going, and they've been answering the call of God on their life. You need to answer the call of God on your life now. And so I was feeling the Lord lead me to a Bible college. Now, I didn't know what Bible college. Because I'm from a Calvary Chapel background, there are plenty of Calvary Chapel Bible colleges throughout the world. And so I was praying about it, and I really felt the Lord, for whatever reason, lead me to a Bible college in Hungary. Okay? In Hungary. There is a city there called Budapest, and the school was in a far village, a little outside of Budapest. And it was called Vita. Now, there's a castle there, super cool. I ended up going there for about a year or so. And while I was there, I ended up working as an intern during the summer through multiple different programs that they had. But because it was a castle, because it was a Bible college, we had multiple conferences there. Conferences for missionaries and conferences just for Christian churches throughout the region. They would come, and during one of the conferences, while the parents were going to the main service, the missionary kids would come to me and my group. Parents were being fed, they were being fed. And so ultimately, one of the days, me and some of the guys I was doing it with, we ended up going to the pool with some of the kids. Super cool. And I ended up meeting a pastor there who invited me to come preach at his conference. Now, this conference was going to be in like a month or so. He's like, yo, man, I heard you're preaching to the youth. I'm having a conference. Would you want to come to my conference? I was like, dude, heck yeah. Where do you live? And he's like, I live in a city called Mukachevo. It is in the country of Ukraine. I was like, never been to Ukraine, but sure, I would love to. So I ended up planning and going to preach at this conference. Now, when I ended up getting there on a Saturday, I preached Saturday, and then I preached Sunday morning. And when I preached it, for whatever reason, I just loved the country. Like, it wasn't a specific person. It wasn't just how it looked. It was just a bunch of things. Just the feel of the country. I was just in love with how it felt there for those few days. And so I was like, man, I like this place. This is pretty nice. And so I decided, you know what? I was going to stay for like 4 days. I'm going to stay for a few more. We'll see what happens in a week. And so I ended up staying a week. Then I was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens in a month. And I ended up staying for a month, and I still haven't gone back. Now, during this time, another crazy story, the Lord brought my parents to Ukraine. And so short time after that, we are all serving at a church there in Ukraine, where I became the youth pastor. My dad was the assistant pastor, and we were helping a pastor with his church plant. And so super cool, super awesome. Now, during this time, I met a woman named Tanya, who is now my wife. That's another crazy story. We could talk about that another time. But being there for a little bit of time, we felt that the Lord was actually telling us, the church plant doesn't actually need you anymore. You guys can go. Like, they're actually at the point where the Ukrainians are doing it themselves, which is ultimately the mission. The mission of missions. The mission of missions is that we would build up the church, that the church would begin to grow, that the people in the church would be able to lead, and then we would just leave it to them. That's ultimately the mission of missions. So the church was doing this, the church was growing, and so we felt, hey, the church doesn't need us, they're doing it. But we still really like Ukraine. Like, Ukraine is pretty awesome. We really like this country. So what should we do? So we started praying about it. And the Lord ended up leading my wife and I. We got married at this point. My wife and I, along with my father and my mother, we ended up going to a city called Chornomorsk, which is where we're at now. And we traveled here a few times. We liked it. And we're like, you know what? We're just going to follow the Lord. We're just going to go for it. So we ended up moving to Chornomorsk. Now, Chornomorsk is right next to the city of Odessa. Okay, so it's right along the Black Sea. So we're really suffering for the Lord in the sun, on the sand, really trying to, push through it. But we're here, and it has been awesome. We've been here for about a year and a
5 hours later.
Yeah, a year and a half now, and it has just been awesome. Obviously, with starting a church and having a church plant, the good old Rona didn't really help with that, but it has just been awesome meeting people throughout the city, the church slowly growing, being able to reach and being able to encourage the people in this city. It has just been awesome. It's been so good. And so about 4 or 5 months ago, we found out that my grandma actually, who's in America, had brain cancer. She ended up needing to have surgery. And so my parents ended up feeling like they were supposed to go back for a little bit. They ended up going back for a little bit. It became clear that she needed more regular 24-hour care. And so then they felt the Lord was calling them to go back. And so because of this, the church actually recently just got handed off from my dad to me. And so this is actually new for me. I've been a pastor for about, officially ordained for about a year. And now I am actually not even a year, but now I'm officially leading the church. So it's been awesome. It has been so good. God is faithful, and we are just praying and continue pressing on throughout all the quarantine stuff. We know that God's in control. God is working. And so, yeah, that's how we got to Ukraine. We are here. We have a little church plant here of about 20 people or so. And so, hey, please be praying for us. Please be praying for all that God's doing here. God is moving, and we believe that God's hand is on what's happening in Oasis Church, which is the church plant that we're starting. And so, yeah, hey, by the way, if you are ever interested in coming or ever interested in doing an outreach here, a mission trip here, let me know. We will try to figure something out. I don't really know how, but we're going to figure it out. And so we would love to have you. And yeah, we can't wait to actually meet you in person. Hey, if you ever have any questions about anything, any ministry, anything that I'm doing, you want to know how you can support the church, you want to know how you can support us as missionaries, you want to know how you can, any questions, any idea, please message us. You can comment in the YouTube comment section, or you can actually Instagram us, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. If you got any questions, any prayer requests for you, please don't be afraid. Let us know. Message us, and it means a lot to be able to see God drawing people and encouraging people through this YouTube channel. So, hey, if you're interested, message me. Let me know. And I will get back to you. And so I hope you're encouraged. I hope that encouraged you in some way. Hey, if the Lord is calling you, just go for it. Just go for it. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. I don't care. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what you sound like. If the Lord's leading you, do it. And I promise you, if you are obedient, it'll all work out okay. And so I hope you're encouraged. I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. YouTube, love you. Peace.